All right, when we say that the absolute value of x is equal to 8, what values could x be? Well, it could be a positive 8 or a negative 8. So you just discovered the rule for solving an absolute value equation. You're going to take what's inside the absolute value and you're going to set it equal to a positive and a negative of what's on the other side. Why is that? Well, absolute value really means the distance that a number is away from zero, away from the origin on a number line. So if you start at 0 and you go 8 units to the left or 8 units to the right, that is the absolute value. So if I have an equation that has an absolute value in it that I want to solve, I want to try and get the absolute value alone on one side, and I want to take what's inside the absolute value and set it equal to a positive and a negative of what's on the other side. So just a moment ago, we had the absolute value of x was equal to 8, and we set what was inside the absolute value equal to a positive and a negative 8. This equation's a little more complex, but I'm going to do the exact same thing. Take what's inside the absolute value and set it equal to a positive and a negative of what's on the other side. Now I have two straightforward equations to solve. So let's go through and let's subtract 4 from each side, and then let's divide both sides by 6. So we'll get x is equal to 2/3. And then the same thing here, subtract 4 from both sides and divide both sides by 6, and we'll get -2. Now if we plug each of those back in, you can see they both work. If we take 6 times 2/3, that's 4, plus 4 is 8, and the absolute value of 8 is 8. If we take -2 and plug it back in, 6 times -2 is -12, plus 4 is going to give us -8. Absolute value of -8 is also going to be 8. Now I do need to check these answers to make sure that I don't have extraneous roots, extra roots that aren't true solutions, that when you plug them back in, they don't make the equation true. That often happens if you have an expression over here on this side that when you substitute the value back in, it gives you a negative value on this right-hand side, because of course an absolute value is going to be positive, and so it's not going to equal a negative value. All right, let's look at another one of those. Let's get the absolute value alone on one side. So let's add that 4 to both sides. Then we're going to take what's inside the absolute value and set it equal to a positive and a negative of what's on the other side. So to solve these equations, we're just going to add 5 to both sides and then divide by 3. So add 5 and divide by 3. Same thing here, add 5 and divide by 3. And there are our two solutions. Again, we want to check those for extraneous roots.